That's what you see women like Chelsea Handler, feminists like Chelsea Handler, going with now. They've been lied to by their society forever, that you could be a girl boss and you can do anything a man can do, which everyone who's ever seen a woman back up a vehicle knows that's not true. But either way, they've been told that they should do career and don't do a family or anything like that. And soon you're Chelsea Handler. Soon it's Valentine's Day and your womb resembles a dried up tumbleweed blowing down an old western town. And your Valentine's Day date for the 10th year in a row is a 10-year-old copy of Magic Mike and a half-full bottle of Xanax, and you're trying to pretend like you're happy. Boy, did they get mad at me about that one. It was just a friggin' joke. But, you know, there's some truth woven in there. Joining me now, Alex Clark, host of The Spillover with Alex Clark. Alex, you have a great video up titled, "Have We Girl Bossed Too Close to the Sun?" What are you talking about?
Yeah, so there's been several viral TikToks recently of girls complaining about working the 9-to-5 grind and how this isn't what they expected in life, that they're not happy, that they're really miserable. And then a lot of conservative commentators took that as an opportunity to roast her, basically, and just say, grow up, welcome to being an adult. And my take is that I posted on the Real Alex Clark YouTube is that this was actually never God's design for women. We're unhappy because spiritually, this isn't how we were supposed to be living, but also physically, this isn't how we were supposed to be living as women. So happening right now, and Charlie Kirk, I was actually just on the Charlie Kirk show, and we had a really nice heated debate on this. He doesn't believe me that this is happening, but my audience is primarily young women, and I am telling you that enthusiastically it is happening. There is a mass exodus of women leaving the feminist movement, even if unintentionally. So young women are not necessarily buying what the feminist movement has been selling because there is ample evidence that what we were told was necessary to feel fulfilled. So examples would be poisonous hormonal birth control that wreaks havoc on your body so that, you know, you can have promiscuous sex, which wreaks havoc then on your health, fighting a fake wage gap, which we know doesn't exist, putting more worth on working outside the home as opposed to working inside the home, telling women to ignore our guilt and shame from leaving our newborns at 6 weeks old, which is biologically unnatural and incredibly damaging for mom and baby, deferring to big fertility treatments and going into gobs of debt to maybe, not even guaranteed, get pregnant after putting your career first and putting off a family for your 20s and 30s. Basically, all of this has made us infertile, miserable, narcissistic, hormonally imbalanced wage slaves, and even young women who, yes, a lot of us, most of us, are still voting liberal, but they are at least experiencing the veil being lifted from their eyes in terms of what we've been told will allegedly make women happy. So I strongly believe that if we are able to convince women through culture, we get through to them on how going against God's design for the role of women in society and family should be. We get back to basics. Women will actually come around on the politics after that. So I'm not saying that women shouldn't work. Obviously, I work, but we should be doing two things, okay? We should be teaching and training young women to choose career paths if they want one that will be conducive to prioritizing the home. That means careers that allow you to have flexible hours, work part-time, or work from home. Nursing is a great example of that. If she wants to be a paralegal, she can do it, but do that stuff before you have a family and be willing to pause it or step away for a time, at least in the first 3 years of your child's life when their development and attachment is crucial, and then come back to it when they're a little older. Now, according to the Mom Project, 43% of highly skilled women leave the workforce after becoming mothers. So what I have been saying, Jesse, is that if we teach girls that there is a high probability that they will want to stay home eventually, wouldn't that have some sort of impact on the type of career women might choose? Many of us have come to this point in our lives or close to it. We're weighing the pros and cons and wondering which path to choose. Do I girl boss it up? Do I pursue career first? Or do I focus on a family? And Gen Z girls are feeling confused because millennials, my generation, propagandize this girl boss pipe dream and how great it would be. And Gen Z is now realizing as they're graduating from college that it sucks. So millennial conservatives, men and women, need to show grace to the younger generation, tell them that there is a better way and that it doesn't have to be like this, especially for women.
Okay, so I need you to help me out here because I'm neither young or a woman, and you're both. How do we reach them? Okay, they're not happy with where they are. That's not surprising. You just laid out the reasons very clearly, and I agree with you on all that. Now we need to reach them. I can't reach them, or if I can, I don't know how. How do we reach them? Where do we reach them?
So I am using, and a bunch of other commentators have been using, the culture talking points. So when you get through to them and you explain to them like, hey, the wage gap is a myth. Our bodies, based on our menstrual cycle, the way God designed us literally is not conducive to a 9-to-5 grind. And that, big fertility uses you, manipulates you to put your career first so that they can make money on you later when you're bound to want to have a family like most women do. All of these things, the daycare lie, that it isn't actually normal, that it's not good to push through the guilt that you feel dropping your 6-week-old off at daycare. All of these things, if we use this to get through to women, they hear this, they understand it, the evidence is there, the facts are there, and then they're willing to listen to us on the other things and realize, oh, voting conservative actually is the best thing for me as a woman. And so I'm using those avenues to kind of get through to them first.
I want to play this ad from Planned Parenthood because I can't get an interview I did with an Abby Johnson. You probably know Abby Johnson, pro-life advocate. I can't get an interview with her out of my mind. I interviewed her and I asked her, why are so many women loving abortion? Or have they just been lied to? And she said, she runs one of these pro-life centers, that so many women call her and they tell her they just, I don't even need to play the Planned Parenthood ad. She said so many women call her and they want to keep their bodies good, or they want to get drunk on spring break. These horribly selfish reasons to have an abortion, not as if there's a good one. How are we supposed to penetrate self? Alex, you see what I'm saying? If there's a young woman so consumed with herself that she wants to have an abortion so she can get plastered in Punta Cana, how in the world am I ever supposed to reach someone like that?
Well, it's very difficult, but I think that the number one way to get through to them on that is you have to get them to realize that it is a human being. So if you're talking about the life of a human being that is in jeopardy, then how does that compare to your selfish desire and want to be able to party on spring break or go to Italy? Those are the things that you have to explain that. So like, okay, you want to do that, but we're talking about then ending the life of another person, then does that make that right? And once they cannot get around the fact that it is undeniably a human being, then I think you can have a conversation with them. But that's the first step.
Alex, what role does the church have? In what ways have they failed in this country, regardless of people's beliefs? This is something I've been hot on over and over again about this mealy-mouthed, pathetic church we have now in America that doesn't speak hard truths at all. Every single one of these skinny jeans pastors is up there, I don't want to offend everybody, and what it's done to women and the messaging in this country.
Okay, so this is really near and dear to my heart because I just dropped a brand new episode of The Spillover, my podcast, with Pastor Costi Hinn on this exact thing. So a role of a church in the culture war is for the people that are participating in the body of their church to hate sin while the world is continually pushing the envelope on what is acceptable and then glorifying sin. Throughout all the different centuries, you see this circular pattern where a society will start the rejection of the role of the family, and you have women not wanting to have the biblical worldview of submitting to their husband, for example, putting career above the home, the sexual revolution, rebranding casual sex as empowering. People forgo the natural function between man and woman with the homosexual revolution, which leads to the debasement of the mind. If you read Romans 1:28 through 32, you will see this pattern over and over again. The pastor's role in the culture is to address sin in an individual level, in the corporate level, aka the congregation of the church, and guiding to what God's standard is, which is to live under the Bible and subject themselves to God as Lord. That will separate the church from the rest of the world in the culture and encourage them to go out and preach the truth, which is true love. So the question is, how do you know that your church is failing? How do you know whether your church is failing or winning at the culture war? What are the signs? Pragmatism, the thought that you have to change your church to make the world accept you and bring people in. Something Pastor Costi Hinn said in this episode of The Spillover, which is now viral, was that Sunday church should be conducted as if it was a family affair expecting guests, which means that we conduct as a family, and then we read the Bible as instructed, we worship as instructed, and we do not let the world affect how we do things. We don't worship BLM or the LGBTQ alphabet agenda. We worship the God that provided Jesus to live the perfect life since we cannot because we are sinners. Because of that, God the Father had his son Jesus die as a perfect sacrifice, just like the lamb in Passover, and with his blood or death, his righteousness substitutes our sin, so that we are covered by his sacrifice. And then historically proven, we know Jesus rose from the dead on the third day because he satisfied the Father's wrath to punish sin. And this is important. There is always a punishment for sin. So now for believers, it has been taken care of on the cross. So Jesus is interceding on our behalf to the Father in heaven because we are still sinning. Jesus advocates on our behalf to God the Father, saying, "This is my child." So our worship service shouldn't be designed to appease the world. The sermons at your church shouldn't either. They should clearly and obviously separate us from the world so that we can go into the world with the truth and share what I just shared, which is the true gospel. The goal of the church in America or anywhere isn't to utilize the means of the world to get new people in there. The goal is to present the truth to people so that they are saved. The pastor's role is to train and equip the body with biblical reasons and truth to fight the culture war out in the world with their loved ones, at their workplace, participating in their hobbies, at their kids' soccer games, etc. Those people, you and I, Jesse, we preach to the lost what the gospel is, and then hopefully those people who are now saved will start attending that church, and then the cycle restarts over and over, where you keep going out into the world and you share the truth. This is what the role of the church should be in the culture war, and this is what 95% of American churches are not doing.
Alex, come back soon. That was awesome.